Alright, let me start by painting you a nice picture. So, on a nice Saturday morning, I was thinking to myself, hey, I would like to play some League of Legends, but I also would like to have a nice cup of black coffee. So, I went to my coffee machine, I made myself some coffee, I put it upstairs, I launched my game, I played my game, I lost my game, I blamed my team, and then I realized, wait a second, my coffee is cold. Now, this is something that has probably happened to lots of people around, and obviously, that is kind of where a thing like the Ember mug comes in. And this review, I just want to quickly point it out, is not really going to be a very technical review. I'm not going to be talking about specs, I'm not going to be performing any tests, I'm not going to be really diving too deep into the device itself. I kind of just want to talk about, hey, what are my experiences with the device, how has it been treating me, and do I find it to be worth it for my specific use case? So first off, what even is my use case? Well, my use case is someone who likes to spend long amounts of time sitting at their PC, either for working purposes or for gaming purposes or editing purposes, something like that. Something where I will be consistently distracted by something happening on my screen, where I'll be actively using my hands to control my keyboard, control my mouse, do other things, and kind of just forget that even my coffee mug is there. So what I needed is something to keep my coffee warm so that I could drink it whenever I want to drink it. Now, there are these cheaper alternatives. There are these coasters you can buy that heat themselves up, but I've heard that they also heat up your mug a lot in order to warm up the mug. It doesn't just heat up the liquid, no, it warms up the entire mug. And I just never felt particularly comfortable having a device on my desk that, well, it's not even a device, but like the mug itself would get incredibly hot. I was scared like maybe some cheaper mugs would break or something, spill all over the desk. Just the horror potential of something like that, kind of just pushed me away from it. And maybe I'm completely wrong, maybe those devices are incredibly good, but I wanted to have something where I can have full faith that nothing would get warm except for my drink. So the way the Ember mug works, and like I said, I'm not going to dive too deep into the specifics, but just generally it works by heating up the liquid inside the mug while not heating up the mug itself. Now, the top part of the mug will get a bit warm, of course, because there is hot liquid in there, and the hot liquid is going to transfer the heat to the mug itself. But it is not like the mug is heating the liquid in there with heat. No, the liquid in there is heating up the mug. So you would have the same effect you would have if you were pouring hot coffee into the mug without even having the heating elements in there. Now, the good thing is the bottom, so the part that is in contact with the Ember coaster charging station, more about that in just a minute, this stays completely cool. Plus, something I really liked, and something some people may have seen in the video already, but this mug, it's quite heavy. You have to put quite a lot of force to tip it over. Now, obviously, if you want to tip it over, you tip it over. It's easy as that. It's still a mug. You have to be able to lift it up. But it is much harder to accidentally, like I'm smacking it with a decent amount of force right now, and it is okay. There we go. It has tipped over, but generally you will not be doing that. Now, at one point during my recording session, I did smack it a little bit, and some coffee spilled out of it. But because the rolling effect of the mug is slowed down so much by its weight, I was able to catch it with my other hand, and only some coffee spilled out. I had to clean it up, but that was fine. But just the idea that the mug is keeping my coffee warm, but also is quite heavy, meaning it doesn't tip over easily, makes me feel very safe, because I am often using this, well, I'm pretty much only using this when I'm at my PC. And there is a lot of expensive hardware there that I think wouldn't really appreciate coming into contact with too much coffee, especially very hot coffee. So one really cool thing about this mug is that you can tell it what temperature you want your drink to be at. Now, I don't know on top of my head exactly what the range is, but I think it's something like 50 degrees to 62.5 degrees Celsius, of course, what we sane people use. No offense. But I have learned that I like my drink at 54 degrees Celsius. And it kind of depends on the drink. I like my tea a little bit colder than I like my coffee. Why, I don't know, but that's just the kind of stuff you learn when you start actually knowing the temperature of your mug. People have been calling me crazy, and people are like, why would you spend so much on a mug? But honestly, this is one of the best purchases I have ever done, just for my ease of mind, because I have this situation where if I can just sip slowly on my coffee, then I'll be perfectly fine just drinking it, like, having a sip, playing a game, having a sip, playing some more of my game, having a sip, going to do something else, just constantly having small sips here and there, and I'll slowly work my way through my amount of coffee. And one of the reasons for that is that besides me being someone who forgets to drink their coffee, I'm also reasonably picky about my coffee temperature. I don't like my coffee particularly hot. I obviously don't like my coffee cold unless it's intended to be cold, like some nice iced coffee. I like my coffee in a couple degrees range, which means that if I want to drink my coffee in a normal mug and I want to be able to properly enjoy it, then the coffee will have to be drank in a window of about 5 to 10 minutes. Which means that, once the coffee reaches the temperature, I will often end up chugging the coffee relatively quickly because, before I know it, it will be cold again. So my caffeine consumption has actually gone down after buying the Ember mug, just because I'm able to sip. I can put 2 of my regular cups of coffee in here because it's a pretty sizable mug. This is 414 milliliters, I do believe, and my normal cups are about 2 something, so I could put pretty much exactly 2 cups of coffee in here. I'll be going for maybe 2, maybe 3 rotations of, refreshing it with 2 more coffee. So I'll be drinking anywhere from 4 to 6 cups of coffee at most. Previously, I will be running back and forth constantly. I'll be like, oh yeah, more coffee, I like my coffee. And I feel like, first of all, I'm wasting way less coffee because I'm drinking every single drop of it. There is no longer, oh, no, well, it's cold. There we go, it's gone. No, I'm drinking every single bit of it, and I feel like I'm drinking a little bit less coffee as well, which, coffee isn't unhealthy. Coffee in large amounts, due to the insane amount of caffeine you're building up, probably isn't the healthiest thing on the planet. So you may have also seen a bit of a light on the mug, and this light has a couple different features. First of all, there is a red light indicating that it is almost empty, which obviously is something you will want to keep an eye on. Now, the battery life for this thing is 80 minutes for my version and 90 minutes for the smaller version. I haven't measured it, I'm not gonna sit here with a stopwatch and try and see if it fits that, but all the reviews I have seen who have done that have told me that it's quite accurate. And personally, I have never been in a situation where my coffee was cold or where my battery was empty before I finished the cup. So as long as you're around the charging station, and in my case, I'm constantly sitting at the charging station, so mine is always full. But when I on occasion want to go down to the living room where you are right now, and I want to go drink a cup of coffee on my couch or even outside when the weather gets better again, 80 minutes is perfectly fine to drink a cup of coffee, and for most people that should be sufficient. But also you have the ability to change the color on the mug LED, and that is, I'm pretty sure, just so that if you have multiple mugs, let's say you are in a 4-person household and you all want to have your own mug, which sounds a bit expensive, but it's fine, then you can have everyone having their own colored LED, and you know which mug is whose. Now, obviously, you probably don't want to make it red, because red is also the signal for empty, which could cause a lot of confusion. So yeah, you just choose a color from this, general LED RGB overview like you've seen in many, many apps, and you have your own color on the mug, which in my case doesn't do too much, but it's cool. It's cool, it's a bit of customization, and I have this nice blue tint. Now, one thing you have probably noticed is that there is unfortunately a bit of a cable. You have to plug it into a power outlet. You can't wirelessly charge it or anything. Now, obviously the mug itself is wireless. People have been asking me, hey, how do you charge it? Do you have to put a cable into your mug? Fortunately, that is not the case. You will have to, however, put it on a charging station, and the charging station, the coaster, does have a bit of a cable. So this kind of, for me, isn't really an issue, because I'm often using this, or pretty much exclusively using this at my desk, where I can kind of make sure the cable is barely visible. Like, you'll see the end part of the, you'll see this little part, but the remainder will be behind the desk at the power outlet where I have my cable management going. But for people who may be putting this in a place where you can't really take care of the cable too well, then yeah, it might look a bit ugly to have this cable here, especially when the power block is also relatively large for an object this size. For me, it's not a problem, but I can imagine it being a problem for you. So, do I think this product right here is worth it? In my opinion, from my specific use case, 100% yes. If you want to sit at your desk, you want to have the peace of mind that your coffee is always at the correct temperature for you specifically, then it is an amazing purchase. But it is pretty expensive. It goes for 185 euros and I bought it on sale for 145, which is still pretty expensive. Now I get so much use out of it because I use it pretty much every single day, multiple times a day. So in my case, it's kind of like, like buying a desk chair. It's like buying a bed. It's like buying something you just use every single day. So even if it's a bit more expensive, it's fine. If you want to use it on occasion, if you're someone who likes to drink one cup of coffee, and you even drink it quite attentively, where you're sitting, reading a newspaper or something with your cup of coffee in hand and just sipping away as you're reading it, you might not need this device because you don't spend enough time sitting there to really worry about it getting cold and you're actively drinking. But if you get distracted like me and you don't like your coffee cold, then yeah, it is an amazing purchase. So that is really everything I wanted to talk about. I hope this helped some people out make their purchasing decision. I personally have been a really, really big fan of this mug. I have been talking about it on multiple videos already. So if you're watching my other content, you will probably have heard me talking about my new mug purchase because I am absolutely in love with it. So, please do let me know if you end up buying it or if you already have it, and tell me what your experiences are, especially from a gamer productivity perspective, because I do think it is a product that is really aimed at, well, people like us. So we have come to the part of the video where I ask you to do the things that every YouTuber needs to ask you to do. So let me look at you intensely as I ask you, please like the video, comment, subscribe, and buy an Ember mug. Oh, and by the way, if anyone from Ember is watching this, I haven't had a sponsor ever, and I would love to be sponsored by Ember. So send me a message and we can get things arranged.